In this lecture, let me show you how to load JSON data into our autocomplete widget. JSON is a very popular data interchange format, and you might have to load it in your autocomplete widget if you are using some APIs in your application. So in this lecture, I am going to show you how to load JSON data, which is some local JSON data for the time being. So to avoid complexity, I am just showing you how to load local JSON data in your autocomplete widget. To illustrate this, I have created a very basic web page and added references to the required jQuery and jQueryUI files. I have added online reference this time. Now we need to have some local JSON data, right? So if you have already enrolled in my JSON course, you might be knowing JSON is nothing but string data and they are represented as key value pairs. So let me create a variable called JSON data and let me add some data within curly braces. So I'm not going to explain about JSON in detail here as it is not the purpose of this course. So let me have an ID like 120 and let the name be John Smith. Okay, then comma 122, let the name be Sarah Turner, and let me have another ID like 124 and let the name be Emma White, and let me have one more, let it be 125 and let the name be Mark Smith itself. Okay, so I have added a couple of details like 120 John Smith, 122 Sarah Turner, 124 Emma White and 125 Mark Smith. Is this actually some JSON? No, this is actually a JavaScript object. So if this has to be JSON, we need to put it within double quotes or single quotes. That is, we need to make it as a string. So let me put a single quotes at the end. Okay, and here as well, let me start with a single quotes. Why I am not using a double quotes here? Because within this I have specified double quotes. So if we specify double quotes, this will be considered as the end of the string. So I am enclosing this whole object within string to make it a JSON data. So this is how you will get some JSON string or JSON data in your application from some real world API. Okay. Now what we need to do, it is not easy to process a string, right? So we can use a method called json.parse to convert this JSON string to a JavaScript object. So let me specify where JS object equals, the name of the method is json.parse and we can pass JSON data. Now you might be having a doubt like why we should create this as a string and then make it a JavaScript object. Why can't we directly write this as a JavaScript object? But in real world scenario, you will be getting the data as a JSON string. That is why I have put this value within single quotes and then used the json.parse method to convert this into a JavaScript object. If we don't have this single quotes, that is the starting and ending single quotes for this, then it will be a JavaScript object. In that case, you don't have to use this json.parse method. Okay. Now what we need to do, we are going to use this JavaScript object to get the data in the format we want. If you remember, in the previous lecture we have discussed how to pass a function as the source of our autocomplete widget. So we cannot pass JSON data as a source directly. So we need to transform this JavaScript object into the format as label value pairs. Okay. So what we want to make this names as the autocomplete widget. So for that, let me select it first. Hash its ID is names dot autocomplete. So to make this autocomplete, we need to specify the source within curly braces, right? If it is an array, we can just specify source and then the name of the array. Here we are having a JavaScript object which we got from the JSON data. So what we need to do? We need to convert this JS object into the format we want. So for that, we are going to pass function as we have discussed in the previous lecture. And this function will have two parameters, request and response. Request will be having one property, that is term, the value of which will be the value entered inside this text box. Okay. Now within this, we need to actually do the processing of this JS object. So here, as we have done in the previous lecture, we are going to use the map method itself. So let me specify where filter array equals $.map, which is a utility function. And within this, what should we do? We actually need to pass this JS object. Okay, JS object. And here we can have a function for which there will be two parameters. That is, the first one will be the item and the second one will be the index. So in this case, the item will be John Smith and index will be 120. Then for the second value, it will be Sarah Turner and index will be 122. Like that, we will get the values within this function. So what we can do here, actually we need to return this item and index. But how it should be returned? It should be returned as label and value. So within this, let us return, okay, what should be returned? We need to return label and value. So what should be the label? Let me specify here. Label is the value to be displayed in the suggestion box, right? So label should be item, okay, and value should be index. Suppose we want to display it like that. So in this case, we have specified label to be item and value to be index. Next, what we need to do? After this, we need to specify this as the response. So response filter array. We are doing this as we have done in the previous lecture. That is, when we have passed a callback function, we have two parameters, request and response. And using the map utility function, we are transforming this JavaScript object into the format we want, that is as label value pairs. Now we are specifying response to be filter array. Let's see whether we are getting the output or not. Let me refresh. Let me specify A. See, all the four names are displayed. When I specify John Smith, 120 is inserted. Why? Because here we have specified value to be index. Actually, we need the name to be inserted, right? So label and value, let's specify as item itself. So save, refresh. Let me specify J. Now, as you could see, even if I enter J, all the four names are displayed. Even if I enter K, all the four names are displayed. Even if I enter S, all the four names are displayed. So here, though we are getting the suggestion list correctly, we are not getting the filtering done properly, right? So what we can do here, within this, we can do this only if there is a match. That is, if item dot, let me convert both the item and the term to uppercase. So to uppercase dot index of, what should we search? We need to search request dot term dot to uppercase. Why I am converting this into uppercase? Because this index of is case sensitive. Okay. So to uppercase. If this is not equal to -1, which means there is a match. In that case only we need to do that. Hope it is clear. In the previous case, we have been getting all the four items without filtering. So to do the filtering, what I am going to do is, I am checking whether this item contains the request term. If it is there, this will not return -1. That is, if this character is not present in the item, this will return -1. So if it is not equal to -1 means it is present somewhere. It might not be at the beginning. If we want to be this at the beginning, then we can specify equal 0. Here I want to display the items if the entered character is somewhere within the string. So if we specify like this, what will happen? Only names that contain the specified character will be displayed. Now let's check the output. Let me refresh. Let me enter A. See, only 3 names are there. Let me enter J. See, only one name is there, John Smith. Why I have converted this and this to uppercase? Because if I do not convert this into uppercase, this J will not match this John Smith. Why? Because this is capital and this is small letters, and index of is a case sensitive search. So here we are getting John Smith. Suppose I enter H. All the 4 names are displayed. Why? Here H is there, here H is there, here also H is there, here also H is there. So all the names are displayed. If we want to display only the names that start with this specified character, then what we can do? Instead of not equal to -1, we can specify equals 0. Now let's check. Let me refresh. Let me specify H. See, no names are displayed. Why? There is not even a single name in our JSON string which starts with H. Suppose I specify S, only one name. If I specify K, no name. If I specify M, one name, like that. So if I want to display all the names that contains the character somewhere within, then I need to specify the condition like not equal to -1. Now let me save. Let me refresh. Let me specify A. See, Sarah Turner, all the 3 names. Then J, only one name. O, still one name. M, 3 names. Why? Here M is there, M and M. So what we have done here, we have first created a JSON string. As it is a string, I have enclosed it within single quotes. Then I have converted this into a JavaScript object using json.parse method, because it is not at all easy to process a string as simple as doing a JavaScript object. Then we have specified autocomplete source to be a function, and using this function we are transforming our JavaScript object into the format that is accepted by the autocomplete widget. So we need to specify label and value. For that we are using the map utility function, and we are passing JavaScript object which is in the variable JS object, and the function will have the item as well as the index. So here if we don't want the index, we can just remove this. Okay, still our function should work fine. Let me refresh. Let me specify M. See, all the 3 names are displayed. So here we want to display as well as insert the name itself. Suppose I want to display the name and insert the corresponding ID. In that case, I can specify here index, and as the value, then we should pass index. So if you remember, label is the value to be displayed in the suggestion list. That is, if I enter M, we will display the names, and value is the value to be inserted into the text box when a name is selected. So if I specify M and if I select Emma White, here it is displayed Emma White. Let me refresh. Let me select Emma White again. See, now the ID is inserted into the text box as we have specified value to be index. If you want the name itself to be inserted into the text box, then in that case we have to specify value as item. So if I specify H and select Sarah, now Sarah Turner itself is inserted. So here request.term will give us the value entered in the text box. So if I specify, let me refresh, let me specify H. Now request.term will be H. If I enter say N, then request.term will be HN. That is why John Smith only is displayed. So here we have actually transformed our object into the format that is accepted by the autocomplete widget, where we need to display the label and value, where label will be the values displayed within the suggestion box or the suggestion list, and value will be the actual value will be inserted inside the text box once a value is selected from the select box. So this is how we can load some JSON data into our autocomplete widget.